In this episode of The Unknown Side of WoW, we will be looking at Korthia, the City of Secrets, and uncovering some of the secrets that are the namesake of this small zone. Starting off, let's go over a hidden Easter egg located inside of two of the lost relics you can recover. The Book of Binding, the Tormented Sorcerer, and the Book of Binding, the Mad Witch. Both require you to complete a little quest before you're able to turn them in, which simply has you go around and collect some of the pages of their books. When you first collect the book, you'll be given some lines that basically tell you the book is talking to you and telling you that you need to recover all of its pages. After you collect all the pages and turn them into the researchers, he'll tell you that it seems as if the pages were removed intentionally, and that just to be safe, he'll return all but one of the pages back to the book before returning it to the archive. Then, while both of the books are in the archive, you can click on them in order to get a little bit of dialogue from these talking books. If you click on the Book of the Tormented Sorcerer, it'll ask you to return its last page, and additionally to not return any of the Crimson pages to its book, because that book speaks nothing but lies and is trying to trick you. If you speak to the Crimson book, it will tell you basically the same thing but for the Azure pages, where it says to return the final Crimson page, and that you should not return any of the Azure pages because that book speaks nothing but lies and is trying to trick you. Both of these books are references to the 1993 video game Myst. In this game, there's a plot point where a speaking book will talk to you and ask you to return all of its blue pages, and then tell you to absolutely not return any of the red pages to its appropriate book. And if you talk to the red book, it will basically tell you the same thing. Don't trust the blue pages and return my red pages instead. And each time you do return one of the pages, you'll get a statically little message which will give you a tiny bit of insight about who's trapped inside this book. If you do manage to return all the pages to either book, then the person occupying the book will be freed from their prison and trap you in their place, which basically triggers one of the bad ends, as the books were actually prisons that were holding two brothers that were psychopathic maniacs, and they were trapped inside these books by their father. And also in the game, during part of the quest, there'll be a little bit of flavor text that says you hear a little bit of static coming from one of the books, which is another more direct reference to the Myst books. So the researcher was pretty right to not return the final page to either of them. That would have meant someone would be trapped in their place. Now let's go over a couple of hidden mounts. Korthia has 3 mounts you can obtain through completing a series of steps that you kind of have to figure out yourself. First up, we have Maelie the Wanderer. This is a unicorn that likes to hang out on cliffs at one of these locations shown on the map, almost each day at random, and nearly all of her spawn locations are located in somewhat hard to get to spots, so you have to do a little bit of climbing and jumping. Once you find her, she'll go back to her home base next to the Night Fae Tiny Bell, and once you do this 6 times on different days, Tiny Bell will give you a short quest which just gives you the mount. Although Maelie is not available every single day, so you can always talk to Tiny Bell in order to see if she's out and about, or just ask in general chat, as she only stays at one location for the entire day if she's up. Next, we have Darkmaul, the bear-like creature. This creature is simply located at this spot on the map, sleeping, and all you have to do is just feed it 10 tasty mushrooms. Tasty mushrooms are available from invasive mushrooms that are basically a rare treasure you have to find in hard-to-get locations. But the tasty mushrooms do not drop every single time you loot an invasive mushroom treasure, so you might have to find a lot of them. But once you feed Darkmaul 10 mushrooms, then he'll award himself as a mount. And lastly, there's the Darklight Razorwing, whose nest is located at this area on the map. In order to obtain this mount, all you have to do is bring her 10 lost Razorwing eggs, which drop randomly from devourer mobs in Korthia. And once you return 10 eggs to the nest, then she'll award herself as a mount. Next up, we'll be looking at a little bit of flavor text. You see, whenever you kill rares or loot treasures, you have a chance to get items which simply exist, that way you can submit them to the archivist in order to get cataloged research. And all of the pieces that give cataloged research have a little bit of flavor text on them, and one of them of note is called the Core of an Unknown Titan, which reads, a Titan core that has been taken apart multiple times for study. Now, the flavor text on this leads to all kinds of lore implications. Currently, we are under the impression that Titans have hearts, so what could even be a core of a Titan? Do Titans actually have cores and not body parts like we've been led to believe, with Azurite being blood? Also, can Titans die and go to the Shadowlands? And if they can, how are the archivists able to get a hold of their core and then research it? And also, How did a Titan die without the other Titans knowing about it? Is it actually one of the cores of one of the Titans that Sargeras killed? Was it just a nameless Titan who died a long time ago before the Pantheon was aware of it? Maybe it was one of the void planets that Sargeras destroyed? I'm pretty sure it wasn't supposed to raise all of these questions and was just a fun bit of flavor text. But if we do take it seriously, this one little item, which is meant to just hold currency, probably unintentionally is super lore relevant. And it's not just the core of an unknown Titan. There is also a relic that you have to uncover, which are much more important than these cataloged research items, which coincidentally are also called Korthian relics, called the Unstable Explosive Orb. When you turn in the orb, the Archivist will tell you how it's fascinating this thing didn't detonate when Korthia was invaded. And if you click on the orb inside the storage, it will say that it's contained the energy inside of it for unknown eons, and that surely the Archivist would be certain that it wouldn't blow up, since they thought it's safe to put in storage, or at least that's what you hope. There's also another Korthian relic item, which you can trade in for 100 catalog research, that has the flavor text of tattered plans for weapons that the Primus has decreed to be too destructive for creation. This could imply that the Unstable Explosive Orb was created by the Primus, and that he knows how to create a whole bunch of other incredibly powerful weapons, which of course we know is true based on the weapons he's already created that have been incredibly destructive, like the Frostmourne for example. Now let's take a look at a relic which offers you a toy item. The Guise of the Changeling grants you the toy item of the same name, which allows you to take on the appearance of an attendant of Korthia, and also annoyingly slows down your movement speed by quite a bit. If you click on the relic inside the storage room, it has a little bit of text which states that it seems to have been created by the Shal'Darai, but was altered with a whole bunch of magic that you don't recognize. And then ends off its little flavor text with the line, "One can only guess at what the illusion must be hiding." Now, for anyone who's played through Legion, it's pretty obvious what this is referencing. When you're running through the Nightborn city, you put on illusion so the other Nightborn become friendly to you and don't attack. And there were occasionally sentries who would try to dispel your illusion with the famous line, "An illusion, what are you hiding?" Which has become so well known throughout the WoW community that it even bleeds into other games, with even League of Legends referencing it in one of their patch notes. And what's notable about this is that the Nightborn were kind of a closed-off city for 10,000 years in the Broken Isle, and were just known as the Night Elves before that, so how they got specifically a Nightborn relic in the afterlife is kind of a mystery, unless you don't think too hard about it and just accept it for the reference they were trying to make for fun. Next up, we have a secret daily quest that is only available if you enter a rift portal and go into the other zone. Now, as of making this video, we're still not 100% sure what the prerequisites are for being able to do this daily quest, but one can assume you need to have a high reputation with Venari, as what you do is enter any rift using a rift keystone, and then once you're inside the Shadow Realm, you have 15 minutes before it kicks you out. And what you do is just go to the Maw and look at one of these locations on the map for a huge chest called the Zovall's Vault. If you click on the chest, then it will give you little chains that will allow you to drag the chest. And all you have to do is drag this chest very slowly to the bridge that's right next to Venari's lair, who thankfully is waiting for you at the bridge so you don't have to drag the chest all the way into the den. Venari, while in the Shadow Realm, will then have a daily quest available for you to find the chest, which you should probably pick up before you go out and look for the chest, as when I was getting footage for this, they didn't actually give me credit for clicking on the chest, even though they did give me credit for turning it in. Now, this little hidden quest is just an excellent idea, as there isn't really anything that tells you to go out and do this, as generally going into the rift is only for stuff located in Korthia. So kudos to the first person who decided to explore the Maw in the rift zone, and then found this daily quest and thought to spend 5 minutes dragging the chest over to Venari. And lastly, let's look at another relic with some interesting hidden secrets. For a city that's called the City of Hidden Secrets, there's actually very few secrets to discover in Korthia, but that doesn't mean there's none of them. The Everliving Statuette is an item which drops from one of the rare elites, and while you have this item on you, which gives you a quest to turn into storage, the item will actually send your character whispers, saying things like, "A city of secrets, a history of lies. How many voices do you heed? How many are real? Hope, betrayal, sacrifice. Faces change, the tale does not. Hidden from daylight, a sleeping flame rests atop the 6th tree. The 7th covets what the 6th holds fast. The fulcrum wavers, all will be undone. So many secrets, so little time left to share them." Now these cryptic secrets seems like we have another puzzle box of Yogg-Saron on our hands, where the puzzle box of Yogg-Saron was pretty famous for giving a whole bunch of random whispers that ended up being lore important later on. However, once you've actually turned the relic and you click on the item in storage, you learn the item just really likes to lie, and that any wisdom it might share is almost certainly riddled with deceit. And one of the lines that it utters is actually a reference to a famous false hint from the game Castlevania II Simon's Quest, where the game would tell you, a flame is on top of the 6th tree in Dennis Woods. But there was actually nothing there, which is very similar to the whisper from the statue, hidden from daylight, a sleeping flame rests atop the 6th tree. So because it references a famous false hint, it's pretty safe that you can just ignore the rest of them, unless it happens to actually turn out to be accurate later on, of course. Which is unlikely. You actually only get the whispers while you're on the quest, and you can't get them anymore after you turn it in. Okay, and that's the video. Like I said earlier, Korthia is actually pretty light on secrets. If you liked the video, please check out the channel of this video's editor, the Flying Buttress. He makes great WoW lore videos, as well as watch the playlist with all the past episodes of the Unknown Side of WoW.